Our next speaker is going to be Barry Weprin. Barry is a partner at the Milberg Law Firm, and he'll give you another perspective on Wall Street.
Thank you, Lou. Thank you for inviting me. I know I'm just a humble securities lawyer, and I, as much belong on a panel with dealing with the impact of Wall Street on New York City with these established financial professionals and labor leaders as I would being on the stage at the Hard Rock Cafe. But here I am. So, but I will be brief because a lot of what I want to say has been covered by other people, and really, truthfully, if you want to know about the impact of Wall Street on the New York economy, the place to go is the website of the New York State, New York City Controller. And obviously, I'm not saying that to butter them up since they're not here anymore, but they but they really do an excellent job in laying out the effects, and they give regular reports. Tom DiNapoli's office issues 3 or 4 reports a year, and everything you really want to know about the impact of Wall Street and the economy is there. As a securities lawyer, I am involved in enforcing shareholder rights and corporate governance and representing pension funds in securities litigation. And I guess my perspective is a pro-shareholder one, which again, New York, in addition to being the seat of the financial community, is also the home to a disproportionate number of shareholders. And I think it's important that Wall Street remember that they really do need to be accountable to their shareholders. And I think one of the things, if going back, this is the 3rd forum, and as Lou mentioned, the first forum was right after the Wall Street meltdown, and I went back and looked at some of the press reports at the time, and I don't know if you remember how much doom and gloom there was for the financial industry in 2008. Not only was there real fear of major failures, but there was also a lot of speculation in the press that New York was not going to be the financial center anymore, and that the center of finance was really going to shift to Washington. There were headlines to that effect, both in the New York Times and the Washington Post. Senator Schumer actually, in an attempt to try to keep New York prominent, actually proposed that the SEC move their headquarters to New York, because he thought that would be more symbolic of New York being the financial headquarters. And most of the fears didn't come true. As the controllers reported, the financial industry is, certainly compared to most other industries in this country, in very good shape. But one of the reasons is because of the help they got for the government. And I really think that, to some extent, I don't know that they really appreciate the extent to which the government and the taxpayers really helped Wall Street. And it wasn't selfless. Obviously, they did it because there was a perception, among the government and among Congress that if Wall Street failed, that America was going to fail, and that there would be a lot worse financial conditions than there were. But the fact is that the government did step in. They helped Wall Street just like they helped the auto industry. And I think that I'm a little concerned, as I say, that there hasn't been enough humbleness and humility and recognition of the need for regulation to make sure that this doesn't repeat itself. And I also don't think that people on Wall Street realize the effect to which the TARP, or the bailout, as it said, has become wildly unpopular. And I think the single most reason why a Democrat congressional candidate was likely to lose would be if they voted for TARP. Even I know people talk about how voting for health care was bad for the Democrats, but if you were to do a regression analysis, voting for TARP was the single most toxic vote that a Democrat could take. More so for Democrats than Republicans, because the nature of the districts they represented and the ads that were run against them, which were largely financed by the financial industry, ironically, harped upon the fact that they voted for the bailout and they were for Wall Street and not Main Street. And I think that President Obama, who's come under criticism for not being pro-business enough, I think actually the Democrats lost because of perception, because of TARP, that they were too pro-business. And I'm not anti-business, and I appreciate what Wall Street needs to do for New York, but I really hope that we have a recognition that we can work together to institute reforms that will allow Wall Street to continue in a stable and a fair manner. And I know Arthur's work in terms of reforms of the Martin Act has been great, and I think allowing investors to sue in state court, which that would do to protect their rights, is important. And I bring securities actions in federal court, which I think also serve to secure that end. But I really think that a balance between self-interest and regulation really needs to be struck, and I just hope that Wall Street does allow the regulation which has been in effect to at least have a chance to work, and if it needs to be strengthened, I think we need to strengthen it. But I think any attempt to go back to an unregulated system would be a risk that I don't think that New York City or the country can afford.